Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're breaking down something that could seriously impact your taxes, your healthcare, and yes, your Social Security. President Trump's new One Big Beautiful bill just made it through the House, and now it's facing some big challenges in the Senate. What makes this bill so important is that it's not just about tax cuts. It's also about changes to Medicaid, new rules for benefit programs, and even some quiet but meaningful shifts that could affect how Social Security works for millions of people in the years ahead. And one thing most folks don't know, this bill is over 1,000 pages long, and buried in there are rules that could tie Social Security payments to new work and reporting requirements, especially for people also receiving Medicaid or food assistance. That might sound technical, but could mean real consequences for people who rely on those monthly checks to get by. So if you're wondering how this affects your benefits, or what this means for your family's financial future, you're in the right place. Stick around, because what's happening in Congress right now could end up changing the way Social Security and other programs function, and you deserve to know exactly how it could affect you. Before we jump in, take a second and leave a comment. What worries you most right now? Is it your Social Security income, the cost of healthcare, or rising taxes? I'd love to hear your take. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button so you stay in the loop with all the updates. Now, at the center of all this is President Trump's massive new proposal, which he's calling the One Big Beautiful Bill. It's a mix of permanent tax cuts, government spending changes, and new requirements for people on benefit programs like Medicaid and SNAP. The House already passed it, but just barely, with a single vote margin. Now it's in the Senate, and that's where things could get complicated. You see, even though Republicans control the Senate, it only takes 3 of them to break ranks and the whole thing could fall apart. And already, a few senators are speaking out. Some are worried about the cost, others about the impact on their states. And the big issue? The bill could add over $3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. That's not a small number. And while tax cuts sound great to most of us, who doesn't want to keep more of their paycheck? The truth is, a lot of the savings go to the top. Business owners and high-income earners are set to benefit the most, thanks to deductions on pass-through income, capital gains, and even tip earnings. There are some breaks for everyday Americans, sure, but they're smaller and they fade over time. And there's a catch with one of the more popular pieces, the child tax credit. The House plan would bump it up from $2,000 to $2,500 through 2028. That's helpful for families with young kids, especially with inflation eating away at everything. But that increase isn't permanent, and some senators, like J.D. Vance and Josh Hawley, are pushing for a more generous version that lasts longer. So that part of the bill, still up in the air. Another thing to watch is the SALT deduction, short for state and local taxes. Right now, there's a cap on how much you can deduct. The House plan would raise that cap to $40,000, which helps people in high-tax states like New York and California. But senators from low-tax states aren't thrilled about it. Some want to shrink it back down or cut it entirely. If they do, there's a risk the House might not pass the bill again. So we're looking at a really fragile balance. But where it gets personal for a lot of people is Medicaid. The bill would cut $625 billion for Medicaid and add work requirements for adults between the ages of 19 and 64 who don't have kids. The idea is that folks need to work, volunteer, or attend job training for at least 80 hours a month to qualify. So, on the surface, that might sound reasonable. But the reality is messier. Studies show that most people who receive Medicaid are already working, caring for family, or dealing with health issues that make steady employment tough. What's more, the paperwork and tracking systems for these rules can be confusing, and that's often what causes people to lose their benefits, not the actual work requirement. One senator said it best: people don't lose coverage because they're unwilling to work, they lose it because they missed a form, or their hours changed, or the system flagged something wrong. And if you've ever tried to call your local benefits office or navigate one of those online portals, you know how frustrating that can be. That's where Social Security comes back into the picture. For people who are retired or on disability, but also get help through Medicaid, stricter eligibility rules could mean more hoops to jump through, and more chances to get flagged for overpayments or disqualification. Already, over 1 million people are being asked to repay Social Security benefits because of errors or miscommunications. This bill could make that problem worse by tightening the reporting requirements. And honestly, it's not just a policy issue, it's an emotional one. I've had folks write in to say they're scared to answer the phone because they think it might be someone asking them to repay thousands of dollars they never knew they owed. That's real, and it's heartbreaking. So then the question becomes, where do we go from here? Some senators want to pull these Medicaid and Social Security related changes out of the bill entirely. They think the focus should stay on taxes. Others argue that it's all connected. Cutting taxes means cutting spending, and that has to come from somewhere. And on top of all that, the bill also touches on clean energy. It rolls back many of the tax credits from President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, especially those tied to electric vehicles and renewable energy. For some Republicans, that's a win. They say those credits distort the market. But others, especially from states with big clean energy investments, are warning it could kill jobs and leave companies stuck with stranded costs. Meanwhile, economists are warning about the broader impact. The U.S. debt is already around 100% of GDP. If this bill passes as is, projections show it climbing above 125% in the next decade. That could raise interest rates, make borrowing more expensive, and limit the government's ability to respond to future emergencies. One economist put it like this: if we borrow too much now, we might not be able to borrow later when we actually need to. And that's a risk we can't ignore. And investors seem to agree. Bond yields are rising. The dollar is weakening. That doesn't always happen together, and it usually means the markets are nervous about how we're managing our finances. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. Let's keep going. But even if this all sounds overwhelming, there's still time to shape what happens next. The Senate is already making changes, and every senator who speaks up, whether to support or oppose the bill, is doing so because they're hearing from voters. That means your voice still matters. So keep an eye out. The July 4th deadline isn't just symbolic. It's being used to create urgency. But we still have a few weeks where the final shape of this bill could change. And next, we'll see whether the work requirement rules stick, whether the child tax credit gets expanded, and whether anything changes with Social Security policy. There's also a procedural showdown coming. Senate Democrats are challenging whether this bill can even be passed with a simple majority. If they win that fight, it could force Republicans to go back to the drawing board. Now, I'd love to know what part of this is closest to home for you. Is it the Medicaid cuts, the Social Security connection, or the tax policy? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss the next update. There's a lot more coming, and I'll be here to help you make sense of it all. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.